Hello and welcome to Perspectives, where we take a deep dive into the issues of the day and where we take a look at people's opinions on such issues. My name is Ruth Osime.
And I am Olatorera Majekodunmi-Oniru. Today's topic is human trafficking. There's a global hazard in exploiting humans for forced labor and commercial sex slavery. We have very important discussions and special guests coming up, so please stay tuned to Perspectives on Arise TV.
Welcome back to Perspectives here on Arise News. Human trafficking, a form of modern-day slavery, has become a global menace with huge consequences on all spheres of the society. This trade is the third largest organized crime in the world after drugs and firearms. In spite of all the measures government and other stakeholders have carried out against the scourge, it has not abated. Human trafficking is a crime which some people tend to overlook, and sadly, very few actual convictions have been made. According to the International Labour Organization and the Human Trafficking Fact Sheet by Pathfinder Justice Initiative, the illegal trade of people for exploits or commercial gain is a $150 billion global industry. The report indicates that 2/3 of the amount, $99 billion, is generated from commercial sexual exploitation, while $51 billion results from forced economic exploitation, including domestic work, agriculture, and other economic activities. Modern-day slavery is all around us, often hidden in plain sight. Aside from prostitution, people can also become enslaved as workers working in the most inhumane conditions and environment earn way below the average pay. Victims of modern slavery must face violence or threats, be forced into inescapable debt, or have their passports taken away and face being threatened with deportation. Many people have fallen into this trap because they were trying to escape poverty or insecurity, improve their lives, and support their families. Now they can't leave. Today, we're talking about the challenges of modern slavery, the solutions needed to address its root causes, and the support needed to advocate for these victims.
Very well said. Human trafficking is deeply rooted modern slavery, affecting over 40 million people globally as I speak this very second. It is a $150 billion illegal industry that preys on the weak to enrich the inhumane and the power drunk. Human traffickers are mostly financially wolfish people deriving liquid wealth from tormenting and controlling captured victims. Trafficked victims are mostly vulnerable, poor, displaced, parentless, or abused young humans who are desperate for instantaneous emergency help. Traffickers have mastered the act of using romance, extreme flattery, unprecedented financial assistance, illicit drugs, and endless promises to portray a savior position prior to isolating, controlling, misusing, and monetizing victims. Females, especially young girls, who are sexually trafficked, end up with deadly diseases, cervical cancer, pelvic, bladder, and rectal organ prolapse. And many have to undergo hysterectomy and other surgeries as early as 20 years old. Many live broken lives, emotionally and physically, and many die early. When anyone hires the services of an escort, or walks into an illicit massage parlor, or watches porn, there are chances that the lady is a victim of human trafficking. Anyone who looks abused, malnourished, avoids eye contact, or cannot show you an identification document, regardless of using her, most likely need your help immediately. Human trafficking is a crime that gravely shames the human race. A crime that portrays how dark the world has become. A crime that portrays how much we neglect our neighbors' cries and enrich our friends' crimes. A crime that portrays how deeply money has overtaken humanity. A crime that screams unacceptable, unspeakable, and abhorrent. A crime that must stop. Intense discussions coming up shortly, but let's watch this special report. Perspectives, we'll be right back.
Human trafficking is one of the oldest illegal acts in the world today, as it has been happening for centuries with no imminent end in sight. Human trafficking is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of people through force, fraud, or deception with the aim of exploiting them for profit. Men, women, and children of all ages and from all backgrounds can become victims of this crime, which occurs in every region of the world. In the past, slave trade was the order of the day that encouraged trafficking of humans against their will. But now the traffickers often use violence or fraudulent employment agencies and fake promises of education and job opportunities to trick and coerce their victims. In most cases, language barriers, fear of their traffickers, and fear of law enforcement frequently keep victims from seeking help, making human trafficking a hidden crime. Some people are tricked into becoming victims, especially those seeking employment opportunities abroad. They are promised a better life, which end up being a scam, as some end up being used as sex slaves and otherwise. The traffickers cut off their access to the rest of the world, making it hard for the victims to reach out for help. The trauma caused by the traffickers can be so great that many may not identify themselves as victims or ask for help, even in highly public settings. Today on Perspectives, we would be taking a look at how to fight human trafficking, what agencies and NGOs are being created to fight the cause, how these culprits can be brought to justice, and a whole lot more.
Every time I watch one episode or one VT, I'm thinking, it cannot be that bad. Prostitution is an old age tradition. It has been there for centuries, and whether we like it or not, it does exist. But what I find most painful is when you're lured into it unknowingly. I don't know if you saw a video recently of a naked woman, and her madam was asking her to read a script. And apparently her madam has threatened her with this video that if she does run away or escape, she will post it on social media, which is exactly what she did. So imagine the girl's family, imagine her loved ones, seeing her stark naked, called her name, she was telling the girl what to say, called the name, called everything. Now, and
that made her fearful.
Yes, but she obviously did escape, and the woman did live up to her threat by posting it on social media. And then, of course, I'm a Benin woman. I know a lot of people, or people who have relatives. All of a sudden, you don't see one person for the next couple of years, and then 10 years later, they appear back into your life, but you can tell that they've been through a very tough time. The ordeals that they go through, the harrowing experiences that they go through, it is so inhumane. And I'm hoping that our guests will come today and tell us just how bad and dire this situation is.
When I think about the cases, so I remember Jeff Epstein, I don't know if you know his case from the US, and he was this very wealthy billionaire that ended up preying on so many women. When you look back into his historic background, he was actually a math teacher prior to going into investment banking, then went into having his own business, created this wealth, and now went into abusing, misusing, and taking advantage of very young women.
I think he was a pervert.
Yes, his victims were as young as 13, 14 years old. And there was a time Donald Trump said, he's my good friend, he's fun to be around.
Well, most of them didn't exactly advertise that.
He said he loves beautiful women, especially young women. But of course, when things broke out, he said, I'm not a fan of his. By the time when it's happening, there are people that know it's happening.
But he even had an enabler. His girlfriend was an enabler as well.
Exactly. People that don't actually tell people who are power drunk the truth. Like, look, this is wrong. I'm not joining you. But instead, they join in it. and aggravate the inhumane treatment of people who are just weak and powerless.
That is
at that
equally
point
as
in time.
invasive into your rights, or it's equally as what's the word now? It's equally as heartbreaking to hear. But I think the ones that go through the desert, where they have to drink their pee, where they have to sleep with their siblings, where their bodies are cut apart to take human spare parts, not to come and talk of when you get to where you're going to, and they literally strip you naked.
Yeah.
That in itself, it must be harrowing, and it must. Imagine feeling caged inside a place where you have no life.
Especially when you were not expecting it. Majority of these victims, they were just in an emergency, desperate situation.
Yes.
I need maybe let's just say 50,000 naira just to get my life together. And someone promises you this and gives you romance, gives you whatever, and before you know it, you are in another country.
What even makes it most
slaving.
painful is that no matter how much awareness is being created about the disadvantages of practicing this kind of exercise, you still have people who are gullible enough to think that their case is different. I'm sure the stories.
You mean the victims before they are transported?
I'm sure
the
pimps or the madams or whatever, they don't really change the script that much. It's the same usual. You go there, we open a salon for you.
But you know when you just want a better life.
But that's what I'm saying.
When you are desperate.
But that's
when you don't even have a home to go home to, and someone is offering you a bed somewhere.
But guess what? I did not come back. Some of them have come back. Some of them have almost lost their lives in coming back. Because you now realize that it's better to be hungry, but be alive and have some peace of mind than be in a place where you are even. Your body is being abused and molested, and you still don't have the money to earn.
Right. If only there wasn't
it's not even
so
yours
much poverty,
to keep.
If there wasn't so much poverty
which is
in the country, and
which is the underlying factor
to help their family members.
Let's just better the lives
of our citizens.
Yeah.
That is so critical.
We are hoping that we've met a president who seems to be,
we're extremely hopeful.
So our hope is that things would improve. Where
for majority of Nigerians
will now become an abhorrence. It will not be something that we will now. People will not even contemplate.
Absolutely. We hope our leaders will infuse humanity in our country.
This leader we have now is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Seems to have hit the floor running.
Yes,
so let's just hope
that
this time next year, conversations like this will be a thing of the past.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully.
Anyway, we are heading for a short break, but stay with us, because when we come back, it will be time to engage our esteemed guests, Aganran Alao and Doris Ogbeifun. Perspectives return in just a moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back to Perspectives here on Arise News.
Moving on to our guests. Now introducing our first guest. First off is Aganran Alao, who is a graduate of political science from the University of Ibadan. Aganran is an accomplished holder of 2 master's degrees in industrial sociology and public administration. He joined the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons in 2008 and rose to become the pioneer zonal commander of NAPTIP Oshogbo Zonal Command in Osun State. Later on, in 2018, he became the Makurdi Zonal Commander, and in 2021, he was appointed the Lagos Zonal Commander. Presently, Aganran is the head of the Intelligence and International Cooperation Unit at the agency's headquarters in Abuja. He is also a Deputy Director of Intelligence. Very warm welcome to you. Welcome to Perspectives. Glad to have you here with us today, Aganran.
And also joining us for this very important discussion is Doris Ogbeifun, who is a women's rights advocate, feminist, activist, consulting, certified training facilitator, business coach, social crusader, and a public analyst. She is the founder and executive director, Society for Empowered Youth Development, an NGO involved in changing lives and promoting a society where women and young people are empowered and resilient to champion behavioral change, facilitate sustainable businesses capable of elevating poverty, as well as taking the lead in anti-human trafficking projects. She's also the executive director at DOON Consults and proprietor Donosab Enterprise. Loads of appreciation to you both for honoring our invitation here on Perspectives, even as we kick things off with Doris. So, Doris, good to see you. Now,
I'm here.
Yes, how are you?
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm very good. And what about you?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you for having me on board.
Yes, you're most welcome. Everyone knows social media has its good and bad sides. What role has social media played in the act of human trafficking, and how has this impacted society?
Okay. Social media, as we all know, has over the years served as a tool for human traffickers to proliferate their human trafficking activities. It is also an avenue where false information, job offers, informations like job shortages are being used to be able to entice victims to fall prey. It is a medium that lacks sufficient control in terms of the type of information that flies in there. And it is also a medium used to impersonate victims. It can, they also use it to stalk victims' accounts, even when victims has escaped their captivity. It is a medium widely used for good and bad, as you said, and it is something that has a huge impact in the society, in the sense that it is an avenue that has captured the interest of our young ones, the interest of the youths. They find succor in terms of seeking information in these platforms without knowing if it is right or wrong. So this is where this set of people like traffickers comes in to leverage on this opportunity to lure their victims to be able to buy into their tricks and actions. The impact is so huge that some of us, the society, we have lost this hold or control over what our children and upcoming youths are doing. It's a medium that we do not have a framework, a legal framework that prosecutes or arrests people who trade false information in this platform. So that is why it becomes so porous for traffickers to take advantage of this medium in recruiting their victims. It is so appalling that we have a platform of this nature that is not being checkmated. And this act has been on, it has been trending, but social media has come in to edit, made it something that you do not even have to go to villages or meet them one-on-one anymore to lure them, to persuade them to buy into your false tricks to get these victims.
Thank you, Doris.
Yeah.
Very well said. Based on your years of experience fighting human trafficking and just helping youths to develop, how can we increase the risks to traffickers and make human trafficking a very unattractive profession for those that practice within it? What laws can be passed, and how must these laws be enforced?
Honestly, I so much believe in laws, and I would appreciate that we look into and invest in development, make exchange rates very unattractive, in the sense that even if we make all the laws on the earth, remember that slave trade was abolished far back in 1807, but the Slavery Act is still ongoing. Even till tomorrow, it will still be there. So what can we do to address slavery is this: we must make foreign exchange unattractive. What is this thing that is luring people? What is this thing that is pushing people to embark on this journey, even when they are aware that it is dangerous? it is as a result of social infrastructure, social security investments, and making sure that life is worth living. Okay, now in terms of the laws, yes, it is beautiful, and we've made beautiful laws that can prosecute and checkmate these activities. But implementation, our judiciary need to be strengthened to uphold this. I know that we have special courts where trafficking cases are being handled, so that the incessant way of adjournment can be reduced. The victims can easily get justice, because there is this saying that goes that justice denied, delayed is justice denied. And in our system, judiciary should take it very seriously to see that these traffickers get swift punishment. And our law enforcement agencies, like the police and immigration and other bodies that also work in synergy in combing this problem, there should be this core synergy. The issue of rift, or may I say rivalry, should stop. There should be a strong template that can harmonize all efforts and make sure that every victim that speaks out, that has this courage to speak out, gets justice. And also make sure that every perpetrator of this act gets punishment, gets arrested, gets prosecuted, and be served the terms or conditions or the imprisonment or prosecution that is tied to these laws. We have enough set out already by the state government, by the federal government. All we just need to do is to have a stronger synergy to be able to harness all these tools that we have on ground to achieve success in this fight.
Okay, Doris, all said and done. But at the end of the day, I think what we need to also expose is to let people know just exactly what this ordeal is, step by step. So my first question, or what I want to ask you, is that who stands as surety for these trafficked persons before they embark on their journey? You know how, make them to swear oaths and what have you. And what oaths do some of them have to take that makes them too scared to attempt to escape when they meet their predicament? Also, if you can tell us what the journey is like from when they leave their state up to when they get to their destination.
Please proceed.
Okay,
Yeah, go on, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, anybody can stand in as a surety, but basically it is known that native doctors, lawyers, even pastors, or let me just say religious leaders, some of them do stand in. Even parents, in some cases, parents do stand in. Parents do help in luring their children to engage or to embark on this journey. Then the role of native doctors, they also stand in to prepare these concussions where the victims are being taken to swear an oath. This oath serves as an instrument that controls or that helps the trafficker to have this sole control over their victims. It's in terms of the lawyers also, these lawyers also come in to facilitate signing of agreements where the victim will make a proclamation that, oh, when I get there, I am indebted and I am going to pay blah, 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 so amount of money to my madam or to my boss. So this serves as a bondage.
Yeah, but what do
this victim?
What do they have to do when they do that oath? I heard about fingernails being cut, hairs from their private parts being cut.
That's for the concussion. That is
what's the process?
Yes, for the here the process is this. By the time they have gotten the victim, whichever means they use to get their victim, then they take the victim to the native doctor. In Benin language, they say the ohens. They take them there where victim can be stripped naked. Then items from her genitals nails, hairs from the pubic areas shaved. And some of them will be given concussions. Concussions will be prepared. Things will be put into the calabash. Several concussions, blood of a hen or a cock, things, stuffs like that, native chalk and what have you. So this oath will be given to the victim to taste. And the native doctor will threaten this victim that these her materials will be kept in the shrine based on when she finished paying her boss, as in the trafficker now over there when she arrives. So this serves as a bondage. What will keep this victim subjugated to remain subservient to his or her masters when he or she arrives there.
Okay, what about the journey?
Yeah.
From when they leave Benin or wherever they're coming from, all the way to their final destination. And I also hear that in places like Libya, they also do, they cut part of their bodies, they do organ trafficking as well. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. Okay, yes. The journey is this. You know, these persons are vulnerable and most vulnerable in the society. So for those of them that do use the desert route, crossing of the Mediterranean route, not all uses such route. Some actually, they get documentation for them and they fly them to their destination, country of destinations. While some will be deceived that yes, they will do documentation, but at the end of the day, the person can be taken from Benin City to Kano. They board from Benin to Kano, then from Kano, they board across to Agadez, where they begin the desert journey. Then when they get to Tripoli or this other part of Libya, then they begin to, that is where it becomes so glaring to the victim that, oh, I am now a victim of human trafficking, because you begin to see yourself being resold from one master to the other. Some of them will be taken to what they call the connection houses. That is brothel, hotel, or whatever you can call it, where they will be engaged, they'll be forced to engage into sex for pay, as in sexual exploitation. Then while some will be subjected to go into forced labor, either to work as a domestic servitude or to work as a farm plantation worker or a house help, things like that, where whatever the person earns goes to the master. You are left with nothing. Then some are being trafficked also for organ harvest, like they will be taken to where you see human being priced for $200, $300 just for the organ to be harvested. Like if you go back to the 2018 documentary by Nima Mbaga of CNN, you will understand in details how human beings were being priced in Libya. It is so horrible. It's horrible. So not all of them that do pass through this Mediterranean route makes it to Italy or Spain. Some of them do think that even Libya is their final destination because of race, the kind of skin color that they do see out there. Maybe when they have started the prostitution properly, they will always, because they are timid from here, they are not informed, they are so vulnerable and desperate. So some of them, when they get there, it takes time for them to realize that, oh, this is not even the Italy that was promised, or this is not even the Spain that was promised. Oh, some will begin to hear that is even African country. Meanwhile, the exploitation has started already into their life. So it's so horrible.
Thank you, Doris. Thank you.
So horrible. While those, okay, all right.
Absolutely horrible. Your progressive good work offends some people, those who are benefiting from the illegal trade. What are some of the challenges you faced in carrying out your passionate duties against human trafficking? Has there been a time when you felt like your life was in danger, or you had to agree to certain dealings to protect yourself?
Honestly, threat is very common in this part of the world, in Nigeria, most especially when you have ongoing cases in court, starting from the point of arrest to the point of prosecution, cases being heard in court. You begin to see relatives of the arrested or the suspect approaching you, persuading you to drop the case. And when you insist, when you persist, when you resist to make sure that your client, the victim, gets justice, that is when threat sets in. They begin to come up with all sorts of threats to your life, threats to so many things around you that can make you to submit to what they are asking for, what they are pushing to get. But as an advocate, we see threats as everyday thing. I'm used to it. And if you see me, I'm not the type of person that you can intimidate. You can threaten to drop a case. It's not possible. I see it as part, I see it as part of the job.
Thank you very much, Doris, for lending your voice to this very laudable cause. Absolutely. And we just hope that apart from this channel, you will have many more opportunities to keep that voice strong. Well done, Doris. Because it's a job that should be well complimented. You're doing a very great job. Thank you so much for being with us. Anyway, we are going on a break right now, and when we return, we'll be facing our second guest. See you right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Perspectives. That was a very deep insight of what is really going on in Nigeria today. So welcome back to Perspectives. Now we have our next guest, Mr. Ganyu Aganran. Ganyu, good to see you. How are you? Can you hear us?
I'm fine. You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. And good morning to our viewers at home.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Welcome to Perspectives. How is your agency?
Good morning. Good morning. It's my pleasure.
Pleasure to see you too.
It's my pleasure.
Pleasure to see you too. How is your agency, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPPIC, tackling online sexual exploitation and abuse in Nigeria? Also, has your agency or any other agency partnered with any social media platforms to alert them when they see suspicious posts from Nigeria?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, as a background, came on board in 2003 by an Act of Parliament. And in 2005, the Act was also amended. And we also have a enacted amended Act that also gave birth to a new law, a new Act in 2015. Which is called the Trafficking in Person Prohibition Law Enforcement Administration Act 2015. And because we have also observed that the trend of human trafficking keep changing, keep evolving by the day, the agency has for years back embarked on a lot of online awareness creation campaign. Okay. We are on the Twitter, we are on the Facebook, we are on TikTok, and we're also on a Twitter handle. We are in all of this. And the essence of it is that we want to create awareness to the teeming youth that often fall prey to trafficking in persons and the smuggling of migrants. So these are areas that we identified, and then the agency constantly is dealing with that. We create awareness on the social platform. We also ensure that some of our awareness posts are also put on the online media platform. Okay. So we do this constantly. We also, most times, we issue press statements through the online platform to also make the public and the vulnerables, especially the youth, to be aware of what the agency is doing and what the current trend on human trafficking is at the moment. So we put on, most of the time, we put on on the social media platform some of these warning signs, some of these press statements, so that they will also be able to know. In terms of partnership, NAPTIP has also partnered with Meta, That's the owner of Facebook. In 2022, we partnered with Meta, the owner of Facebook, and also in line with that, we also partnered with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, basically to detect and tackle online exploitation. So these are some of the things we do. For the one that has to do with press statement, we also do that, especially on the new trend that has been discovered, especially sextortion. So we do press statement on that. And sometimes when we also notice some current trend that we want people to know, we want to create a red flag so that they will be able to know that this is what we are dealing with currently. So some of those press statements are also issued out so that we want to warn the public, we want to warn the youth that they should be wary of what is ongoing in terms of trafficking in persons and smuggling of migrants.
Thank you, Aganran.
So these are some of the things the agency does to also ensure that the public, the general public is aware, the society is aware, the parents are aware, and everybody is aware of what is going on at the moment. So that's what we do on regular basis from NAPTIP.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. You spoke on how well you're creating awareness for human trafficking, which is very necessary, on Twitter, and promoting partnerships
on social media.
Facebook with Meta, on social media, right. But let's speak more of the detective services that your organization should be engaged in. Less than 1% of human trafficking cases are detected worldwide. The percentage is much less in Nigeria. How is your organization helping to increase reporting or engaging in detective services to free victims out there?
Let me go back by telling you that issue of human trafficking has become a global phenomenon. It is not only happening in Nigeria or African countries, it is a global pandemic. And every world is affected by human trafficking. So detecting human trafficking, we also now I have to take you back to how does recruiting trafficking children or victims of trafficking actually comes up. In trafficking, we talk about the art, we talk about the means, and we talk about the purpose. For you to detect trafficking, you have to look at what has happened. What happens during the act of trafficking? The art is looking at what was done when trafficking is coming up. Was it done through movement of a person from one place to the other? Was it done through the means of deceit? Was it done through the means of fraud? Was it done through the means of debt bondage? And then at the end of the day, you also want to look at what happens, for what purpose? Basically for the purpose of exploitation. And when you are talking about exploitation, basically we have sexual exploitation, which is the most prevalent, the most predominant. Then you now go to labor abuse or labor exploitation. Those are the two major variants that are so prominent. But then we have also seen a lot of variants of trafficking that has also come up. We have seen organ harvesting. We have seen sextortion. We have seen cybercrime. Mm-hmm. We have seen cybercrime as variants of human trafficking. So some of these things are what are playing out now. So detecting this crime has to be done in such a way that for us in NAPTIP, we have trained professionals. Okay. We have investigators. Okay. We have investigators that go for counseling, that go for surveillance. They go for surveillance. Our investigators go for surveillance. So when we are tip-off, we always ensure that sometimes we do disruptive activities. We do disruptive measures so that we don't allow the victims to be taken off. Sometimes when we have intelligence, we ensure that working collaboratively with other law enforcement agencies now, we also ensure that they come in with us collaboratively, and we are also able to disrupt the movement of those traffickers. So these are some of the ways we go about it, but they are actually more than that. Okay. They are more than that. But basically, these are what we do to ensure we disrupt the activities. And sometimes we also see public complaint, people writing to us through the media, through our media handle, through our Facebook and all the rest, to tell us that they are suspecting so happening in so place. We also have some people that they can walk into our office, make official complaint, they write the official complaint, we take it up, we start our investigation, and then we do a lot of arrests on that.
Okay, Mr.
It must also interest you to know that LabTips is a law enforcement agency, and we do so much with arrest, rescue, prosecution of traffickers.
Yeah,
so
but your success rates, yes, you have your reported, you have your prosecuted, you've prosecuted a few, investigated and prosecuted a few cases, but unfortunately, your success rate of people who have been sentenced is still questionably low. So I have a bullet question for you, 2 bullet questions. What are the challenges you face in bringing culprits to justice? Secondly, we also are aware that you provide shelters for the returnees. So for shelters and homes offering rehabilitation services to traffic victims, what regulations are demanded for them to set up? And for those who are non-compliant with these regulations, what is usually the cause for this, and what steps are being taken against such erring organizations? So first, why is your reported cases of sentences abysmally low, and also what issues you have with the shelters you provide for the returnees?
Well, I want to appreciate that question. I also want to appreciate the fact that you also agree that NAPTIP has recorded a lot of success stories, success cases, and then so a lot of prosecution. As it stands,
no, they can report
from 20,
more.
let me just be statistics-wise now. From 2020 to 2023, we have been able to convict 201 suspects of human trafficking. For last year, that is 2022 alone, we were able to secure conviction for 80 victims, of which 45 are male, 35 are female. So that was for last year.
How long was that sentence?
2020 to 2023 to date, we had
Mr. Gani,
sentence
how long was the
ranges
sentence?
because it depends on
between
the
what
sections.
And what? Give us an estimate.
Minimum sentence for NAPTIP from 3 years, 7 years. We also have some bagging up to 30 years imprisonment. I had that when I was in Lagos as the head of operations. 30 years imprisonment. Then sometimes some of the sentence also comes with fines. Fines are also given in addition to the sentence that are given to the suspect of trafficking. So that means you are going to serve your jail term. You are also going to make payment to the government. So that's sometimes what we do. In terms of challenges in prosecuting cases of human trafficking, what often comes up is that for us to secure a seamless conviction, the cooperation of the victim is important. So the challenge here is that most of the time, sometimes we have uncooperative victims of trafficking. And when you have that, it sometimes becomes very, very problematic for you to get conviction on those cases. But then, because of the fact that NAPTIP also empowers some of these victims, we have been able to also ensure that that is reduced to the barest minimum. Not only that, in the course of investigation takes some time. It is not something you can start in one day and maybe finish in a week or finish in a month or finish in 2 months. Sometimes it depends on the complexity of the investigation. You could have a situation in which, in investigating the cases, a lot of arrests will be made. And in making the arrest, you have to also go to where the case actually began. It could be in a village. It could be in a rural area. So you do all of that because we have also seen that it's a network. It's a clandestine activities that is done covertly. It's a network of activities that is done like that. So you have to also ensure that some of them, it is clandestine because they don't want you to know or see them. But through intelligence, through our own investigative professional build-up, we are able to get some of these things done. So investigation takes a lot of time. Not only that, we also have problem of prosecution in the area of the adjournment of cases, transferring of judges. When a judge in a state is transferred, the case starts de novo. You have to start all over. But we have been able to also come out of this because when a judge is transferred, and we also see that the case has gone to almost the concluding part, what we do is that we write for viat. So through that viat, the judge will come back and conclude on the case. So we've been able to also get that behind us. And then also the agency constantly trains judges to make them to be abreast of the NAPTIP Act, so that in their prosecutional aspect, they will be able to give the maximum punishment to the would-be traffickers, so that will serve as deterrent to others that want to engage on the crime. Then we also have this challenge of Stockholm Syndrome, in which the victims of trafficking is emotionally, psychologically, and physically attached to the trafficker. We even see some cases in which some of these victims, in the process of their exploitation from recruitment to their destination point, they become pregnant. Some of them, even at the end of the day, they give birth to the traffickers. So they want to, in this case, they want to be more protective. They don't want to expose the victim. They don't want to cooperate in terms of investigation and in terms of prosecution. So these are some of the challenges that often comes up when you are talking about challenges to prosecution of trafficking cases. Then for the one that has to do with the shelters, for NAPTIP we have what is called Regulation 2019, that deals with activities of organizations, travel and tours agents, travelers, shelter, and homes. So this is the regulation that we have from 2019 to also strengthen a section of the agency 2015 Act.
So much,
So Regulation 2019 looks at some of these areas that some crimes of trafficking and SOM could also actually be
so much,
some of
Mr.
these crimes
Ganiu.
could actually be perpetrated.
Thank you
so
so
that
much.
Regulation 2019 looks at shelters and homes.
Yes.
We also monitor these shelters and homes.
Yes.
They also register with NAPTIP. We also carry out a lot of we go to these homes.
Anyway,
we make sure that they have
Mr.
what
Ganiu.
it takes to run a
running out of
home,
time.
to run a shelter, apart from the fact that they are also apart from the fact that they are also registered with their umbrella body, which is
thank God
NAFTA.
you have your address and you have your email contacts, and you have your organization, and people can reach you online, reach your organization online to get further information of what you haven't been privileged to give us all of, because we're pressed for time. Thank you so much, Mr. Ganiu, for being with us. So when we look at human trafficking, we always think that it's far away from us, but it is not. We must unite our efforts to free victims and stop this crime that's become ever more aggressive, that threatens not just individuals, but the foundational values of society. If not now, then when? If not you, then who? If we're able to answer these fundamental questions, then perhaps we can wipe away the blot of human trafficking. And of course, as I always say, life continues to be a learning curve. That's all we have time for today. You've been watching Perspectives here on Arise News with me, Ruth Osime.
And with me, Olatorera, Majekodunmi-Oniru. Government must find ways to maximize the risks of human trafficking and make it a very unattractive trade. Simultaneously, every individual should endeavor to practice healthy relationship models that respect the great autonomy and hefty worth of every single human life. Everyone is important, every life matters, everyone deserves happiness, joy, peace, and wealth. Let's heighten humanity and minimize classism, ageism, tribalism, and all other factors that segregate, dehumanize, and regress. The key to a better world will always be humanity. Our world needs a much stronger dosage of healthy love, care, and compassion. Thank you for watching Perspectives. Thank you to our special guests for joining us today. Have a great weekend and see you all very soon. Goodbye.